Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Hope everybody's doing well today. I have a flip through of my latest journal, and it's one that I probably have been working on for over a year, and I think I said something about it on my channel before, but I'm finally done with it. I do believe this is reserved, and if for some reason that person doesn't want it, I will release it, but it is spoken for. Let me go through it real quickly, and we will talk a little bit about a situation, a funny kind of story with the cover at the end. So if you're not interested, you don't have to listen to it now. But anyway, this journal is approximately 9 inches by 6 inches with a 2-inch spine. It is made from an old, very old vintage quilt that I found at a thrift store, and it had, you know, little holes and things in it here and there, but what I did is I kind of covered up those pieces with other pieces. That's on the cover, and on the inside there is an embroidered pillowcase, and what I did is I put some interfacing in between and ironed it on, and so it's a soft cover, but it has a little bit of structure to it. On the front I did a patchwork kind of quilt square, and then on top of that I put a vintage doily and then some vintage tatting, and then I made a yo-yo out of some vintage material and put a little vintage another little flower doily, and this little flower mother of pearl in the middle. I did a lot of hand sewing and stitching and embroidery, and there's some a little bit of applique on the side. It has layers and layers of different vintage things that I had cut apart. I put this is a vintage piece of a napkin that I cut apart, and I put that all the way around the top there. I put some more napkin down here. This is a different napkin that has this kind of trim hanging down, and then this is part of a vintage doily on the bottom. On the side, this is part of a vintage blanket, and then this is some more vintage napkin on the side here, and that's on the back too. It goes all the way on the back, all the way across here, all the way here. The tie is done with a rusted paper clip that I have on here, so it holds this crocheted lace tie on there. The spine has yo-yos that I made, that I put all the way down with these antique mother of pearl buttons in the middle of it. Pretty much that's it on the cover. You have things poking up through the front. You've got lace dripping down the side, and of course I have all of my different textiles and lace and things dripping down here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. This journal is 3 signatures, approximately 185 pages. It is stuffed, and again, you can take out probably 50% of this, maybe actually more like 75 in this one, where I have done things where they're removable and you can move them around, take them out, put them in another journal. But I always stuff my journals so they look stuffed, but they honestly, if you take them out, they are not gator mouth at all. This is the inside that I was talking about, the tablecloth. So it is beautiful embroidery, and I didn't put a pocket here because I didn't want to cover this up. And here's some more of that same blanket trim, the tatting and part of that napkin, and they're all layered in there. This was part of the pillowcase, and then you can see the little doily peeking through there. So I love that, the layers and all of that. This is a patchwork little pocket that I made, and I think that video is coming out soon of me making it. But anyway, so that is here, And then I just have some little things, this little rose. This is a wallpaper tag. This is just a picture of a mother and daughter. This thing, I did it kind of not necessarily with a theme, but I just, for mom, I just think it's has things that my mother would be interested in, and I just kind of thought of those things basically, and I kind of thought that might appeal to some other people too. So anyway, here is a seed packet, and there's a journaling card on the inside that is a wallpaper. No, that's an embroidery tag, and then another journaling card in there. So that is that. And here is a 3-part tag here. If you take that apart, you'll have 3 tags there. And then this beautiful embroidery tag here. And there is this really pretty vintage wallpaper behind there. Put that in there. Lots of stuff in this journal. And there's tons and tons of writing room, but yet it's still stuffed. Most of the laces and trims are vintage. So we've got this trim on the edge, and then you've got on the next page, I skipped it, you've got this wallpaper side tuck that I made with this embroidery tag on the avocado paper here. This is some coffee dyed writing music paper. Here is a wallpaper tag. I'm not going to take that off. And then on the next page, I made like a little tuck spot here with the paper. And here is a vintage receipt. And this is just from a 1950s magazine. And I thought that was kind of cool. It's just I believe it was a Women's Day actually. So, and this is from Fun with Dick and Jane. This is a vintage book I have, and I put that in there. Thought that was fun. And then some more wallpaper with some trim and avocado dye. This is just a picture, I guess from 1940. I just thought that looked good in there. This is a seed packet, vintage seed packet, and it has some journaling cards in it. This little embroidery thing, and I put a religious stuff in there because I thought, well, maybe they went to church, they probably collected things. Here is a S&H green stamps, and it has this vintage, it's upside down, vintage, what do you call it? Playing card. And I put some pattern paper on the back of it so you could write on it. This is some vintage recipe paper that I put in there. Some more of my dyed paper next to this beautiful page here of this woman smelling these roses, and it made me think of my mother because she loved flowers. And then this is just a little tuck spot here that I made with this little cutout. And it has some wallpaper tags and another tag in there. This has some vintage cross stitch in there, and I love the color of it, and the patina I thought was really pretty. And there's some more, that's my avocado paper, and then here is some more wallpaper, and then here is a vintage hanky that I basically, I guess it is, yeah. That I basically made into a pocket and put some vintage trim on the bottom that went with it really well. This is a Norman Rockwell that's been cut out of a vintage little Norman Rockwell book, and it is put on handmade paper that I embossed, and some vintage trims up there, and you can write on the back of that. And then this is a vintage birthday card that I thought looked really cute in that pocket. It matched the colors really well, so I just put that in there. Of course, you can write on the back of that too, and there's the rest of that paper. This is a beautiful page from a vintage book I have. I just love the colors in it. And then here is an embroidered, the embroidered tag I got that. All right, and then here is this is a from a vintage book that I have about houseplants, and I thought that would be something they would collect. And the pictures I put in here are like things like from maybe travels that they went on during that period, and or family pictures and stuff like that. So that's the kind of pictures I put in here. Of course, I didn't glue any of them in, so if you want to take them out and put your stuff in, you certainly could. This is just looks like they went with a tour to Paris. A doily. Here is I made pockets with these vintage postcards, and then here is another Norman Rockwell, and it's again done on embossed handmade paper, so with some vintage trims and stuff sewn on the top. And then here is the middle of the signature, which is the wallpaper, and in the middle I have these little distressed scissors and a little heart dangling from the middle. And then the next page I've made a little wallpaper tuck spot with some wallpaper tags and this little vintage card, the doily. Here is the other side of that paper that I put in there, and then this embroidered tag with the gingham. I think is pretty. On this page I have just pictures from a family ski trip, and then again from that vintage book that I have of plants, and my avocado dyed paper. Here is some vintage wallpaper tags, and here is another, I'm not going to open it up, seed packet thing. And here's some more postcards from travels, and the other half of that doily, I think that not doily, napkin or handkerchief, I don't know, I think it's a handkerchief. And then here's some more wallpaper with some vintage trim on that. The other part of the cross stitch. Here is a little tuck spot that I made, and this picture here, and then that embroidery. This is just a little tuck spot. On the top of it I have, this is one of my little rusted clips that I made, and I have a mother of pearl button and some lace hanging from it, and I'm going to put that back in there. That holds in there by itself, but this is holding this in there so it doesn't move around. This is a Butterick sewing pattern that I have, and it has, I made it into a little booklet. I'll show it to you. And so it has little pockets in the front and here that hold some journaling cards, and then in the back this is from a Time Life magazine, some pictures of Elvis I thought were cute, and on the back it has all of these covers of albums from that era. Thought that was kind of cute, so I stuck that in there. And then here is the inside of that. It has the directions, and I have all these little vintage type papers in here, some coffee dyed, avocado dyed, hand dyed, all that in there, just to make a little booklet. I just thought that that would be a fun thing to include. So alright, so that just kind of goes, this is a vintage, really pretty trim that I have. It's very, very old. It's really pretty. I think that's maybe my last piece of that. Anyway, here is another wallpaper tag, and then on the inside I made all these little tuck spots, so another tag. This is another postcard. And here is a chicken tetrazzini recipe. Because I figured they'd probably have their favorite recipes maybe in here and stuff too. And that is authentic too. Here is another beautiful tag. I'm not going to take that off. Y'all can see that. And then here is part of that vintage recipe. And then here is the other part of this green stamps, which I guess that these are the 10. I remember putting these in books. I really do. And I vaguely remember going to like an S&H green stamp store. I just thought that was so cool. Anyway, that's that. And then here's that vintage ledger. Here is the avocado dyed and some more trim on the edge. Oh, and I haven't been pointing it out. I have a lot of these little bulb pins with these antique mother of pearl buttons on there too. There's several of them in there, but I don't know. They're just on different pages. And here's the other part of that Fun with Dick and Jane. That is so cool. I remember reading those. Okay, and then here is some more of the dyed paper. It's a very colorful journal, and it has a lot of writing room, but still a lot of stuff in it too. This is a really pretty vintage lace, super soft. And here's an envelope that I made. I didn't put anything on here because I figured the person getting it may want to do that. And then there is some avocado dyed paper in here, a couple of pieces. So that person, if they want to write a note or something to somebody, they certainly could. And it has some vintage lace on the outside of this envelope. So put that back in there. Okay, I don't know what that is holding in there, but I'm not doing a great job of getting that back in. I'll deal with that later. On the other side, this is another one of those part of the patchwork thing that I made on my channel that you probably haven't seen yet, but you will see it eventually. Here is a little booklet thing that I made, and this is again some handmade paper that I embossed. I love this look. You can write on the back of that, but it's done with a prong fastener so that you can open this up and refill it if you want. It's got this pretty bow on it, and then the little rusted here, and then you've got all these pages here, so that is a fun thing there. Here is a beautiful page with the rose and this vintage pink trim on the edge. And here is the avocado dyed there. Some beautiful avocado dyed lined paper. And this is that Swiss dot pink that I have. And then some beautiful wallpaper pattern here. And then let's see, the avocado dyed. I'm going to move this thing out. I don't think I need it now. And then here is the avocado dyed, and then the other part. There's two different things of these cross stitch. I just like the color went really well in this journal. Like you see right here, you can see it's just, I don't know. Anyway, here is a another patchwork belly band that we made, and holds this cross stitch patterned tag with this beautiful gingham bow, and it sits right in there, and there's wallpaper behind it. Yeah, I thought this turned out to be a really happy, I don't know, cheery type journal. Some more vintage trim here, and then here is another pocket made out of a what do you call it, postcard. And then I made this little thing for you know, a sample of fabric. I thought that would be cool. Another vintage card. This is just a journaling card, and this is from another vintage book that I have on wildflowers. I thought that they might be interested in that too. That colored paper. This beautiful collage page here with some chiffon on the edge. I thought this was interesting because it had like these 1950s houses and talking about the floor plan and what to put on it, stuff like that. And it came from like a landscaping thing. Here's some of my vintage music paper with some texture paste. We made that on my channel. Here is a vintage map, and it has like Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, or whatever. Somehow in my mind, even though my mother was not from the Midwest, and I told you, but it just made me think that somehow this person was from the Midwest that collected these things. I don't know. Have no idea where I got that from, but I did. Anyway, so here is a beautiful wallpaper page here with some vintage trim on there. On the other side of that, again, is another one of those hankies that I put in there that I made into a pocket, and then I put some vintage trim on the bottom, and here is a part of that paper, and then another card here. These people standing in front of, I can't really read what that sign says, somewhere in the mountains. And then this is another cross-stitch pattern or embroidery thing that's very vintage that I put in there. I like the patina on that. Of course, you could write on that too. Avocado paper. And then this is the middle of the middle signature, and I put this beautiful vintage doily. I love it. I put it poking out of the top a little. I thought that was pretty. But anyway, that's in the middle. Here's another page. Here's the other page of that. Here is the other half of that. I love the color of this too. And all of these I put in here that are from that era, so I think that's so pretty. Here's another religious, a couple of religious memorabilia here. This is just a little envelope that has a journaling card on the inside. So lots of places you could tuck things in. I mainly put it in there because of the color. And then this has an old banknote in there. And this is how big they really were. So this is what they would do. So I mainly put that in there because of the color. And then this beautiful trim. Again, that came from hanky. I think that's the same trim, yeah, that I have going across the top. And then here's some more of the trim that I have going across the bottom and the sides. And this is another patchwork pocket that I made. And here's a little wallpaper tag. This is a vintage, what do you call it, flash card. And I put copy dyed paper on the back to write. And then another little card here. So those all go in there. Doily, copy dyed paper, the other part of the map that I showed you, music. And then here's the pictures, the color pictures of the house. You know, and I thought this got the pink brick and the different, I don't know. I just thought it was cool. All right. And then here is another page with some pretty vintage lace on there, with some more over here. Again, there's another little button on there that I'm not pointing out, but they're there with that paper. Here is another wallpaper tag. I'm not going to take that off. Y'all can see it. Maybe I can get this out without it. And here is old Kodak. You know, you used to get these and drop off your film or mail it in. So I put that in there. I thought that was cool. And then there is a picture in there. So I don't know. I thought that was neat. And then here is a vintage birthday card that I thought the colors really went well in here. There's a lot of gingham and pinks and all that in there. Here's the postcard pocket here. And wallpaper. Here's another picture. I thought of an old farmhouse. I thought that was cool. And then here is the embroidery tag. And this pretty blue vintage trim here. Of And here's the wallpaper on the other side. And there's a lot of spots like this where there's nothing. And I thought that would be a great place to put pictures and that kind of thing like that. And you can put whatever, I mean, but there's still tons of stuff in it. You know what I mean? So you're getting a lot in it, but you still have a lot of writing room and stuff. The other part of that cross stitch. And then here is the avocado paper. And here is the toile on there. Avocado paper. This is the little tuck spot with wallpaper, a couple of wallpaper tags and another pretty tag here. Some pretty vintage trim here with the wallpaper on the other side. This beautiful wallpaper over here with some vintage trim. And if you turn the page, there's a little tuck spot there. And it has this pretty embroidery tag there. With some sari silk on top with another little envelope. I tried to have lots of little envelopes and tuck spots and things so that people could have places to put their stuff. And then here's the other half of that, what do you call it? I don't know. Or no, that's another sheet of the recipes. Has a really nice patina to it too. And then this has, I put this in there because, I don't know, my grandmother and my mother loved Shirley Temple, and we would watch Shirley Temple movies like crazy. And that was like our, I don't know, it was usually on the weekend or something. Anyway, so this is a paper doll. And here's her little farmer outfit. I had to fold her legs for it to fit. Otherwise her head stuck out the top really bad. And on the other side is a couple more outfits. I think it's her little Heidi outfit and then another one there. And then inside of that is also from a very vintage recipe book. So put all that back. Put Heidi's little outfit back. Here we go. But it all fits in here underneath this paper clip. And I do have rusty paper clips in here. So here is the trim here, vintage trim with the wallpaper and avocado dyed. And then this is just a page from the women's, I believe it's Women's Day 1950s magazine. And on the other side it has this Singer sewing machine, the newest and greatest, if you look at this. And I just thought, like, okay, this would be like something that they would collect, like, oh gosh, I want to get that, you know, kind of a thing. And here is another wallpaper tag. On the other side is the little thing to collect your material. And another, oh, this is a postcard with a husband and wife and a little baby. And she has a pink dress on. So anyway, I thought that was cool. And then here is another one of those vintage music papers with the texture paste on it. And here is, this is a very vintage receipt. Well, it says 1962 on it. It tells you what they're getting. It looks like, I don't know. Anyway, you could definitely write on the back of that. And then here is another one of those recipe things. And this is an Edith Holden page. So here we go there. I just made a little tuck spot out of that. I don't know. Let's put it in there somehow. Put that under there. And on the other side is a vintage For Mother with Love, this beautiful card. It's got little sparklies on it. I thought the colors went really well in this journal. And of course, you could definitely write on the inside of that too. So I thought that was pretty. And that's the other half of that Edith Holden. And it has several different poems on there. In there with my little dyed doily. wallpaper with some vintage trim. And then here is another one of those hankies there. So I thought that I love the colors in that, and I found some vintage trim to go that goes really well with it. And then here is another tag and a picture, class, and then a postcard. All right, put all that in there. And this came out of a 1950s Good Housekeeping cookbook. The canning, I mainly got it because of the pink next to the pink and the canning. And then this pretty blue dress, I thought that went really well next to this page. Those ribs look fantastic, with some beautiful vintage lace trim here as a pocket. And then you've got this tag and another one of those checks. So let's put that in there. And then here I have this picture of this mother and daughter, and the mom's an angel. And anyway, I thought that was really pretty, so I thought I'd put that in there. This is Blue Chip Budget Saver. I don't remember Blue Chip Budget Saver, but I imagine they were like the S&H green stamps. But anyway, that's full. You could definitely write on that. This is knitting instructions here from a vintage magazine. And then here is the avocado dyed. And this is the middle of that signature. And here are the little thingies on there. You've got a pair of shoes and a knitting needle and ball there. I thought that was appropriate. Here's the other half of that and the blue chip. Here is another pocket made with the postcard. Here is a picture, I thought, of Grandma and Grandpa, and another one of those little fabric things, another vintage receipt, and another pretty journaling card. So anyway, okay, there's the other part of that wallpaper, and then again, this is out of the Good Housekeeping. I just thought that looked very vintage to me. Here's my blue, or my pink next to that. Another picture, and this is the $100 award certificate for S&H green stamps. So apparently that's not $100, 100 award. Okay, I don't know what you got with that, but looked pretty important. Anyway, here is the wallpaper tag here. Another wallpaper tag on the other side. Here's the other part of that hanky with that vintage trim. And it has a Norman Rockwell there, again, on the handmade paper that's been embossed. And some beautiful vintage trim hanging off the side here. A lot of this vintage trim is really soft. That's one thing you'll find. I don't know if it's just, I don't really know. Some of it I think has been like taken off of things, like blankets. Like this looks like it was taken off of something. So maybe it's well worn. Very pretty. I think all the vintage trims and stuff really make this journal. And here is another picture. It looks like a class picture, a vintage flashcard that I put paper on the back so you can write on it. And then put that in there. Put that under there so it doesn't fall. Doily, another flashcard. This is another part of the Edith Holden. Isn't that pretty? I thought those colors went really well in this journal. That's why I picked that page. And on the other side is a envelope with some journaling cards. Another postcard. Put that in there. The other half of the music paper, dyed paper, the other part of that machine, sewing machine. And then here is another, I don't know where that came from, journaling card. And this is held in by, I think there was another one I didn't show you, but one of my little rusty clips. And I get that off of there. And it just hangs off the side with a little piece of trim, and this pretty gingham bow on top. And it's got this beautiful trim on the edge here. I don't think there was anything on the other side of that. No, just wallpaper, ledger paper, that paper, avocado dyed paper, another little tuck spot with some, this is a different vintage seed packet, and it's got some journaling cards in it. This is from Danville, Illinois. Anyway, with this pretty vintage eyelet trim, and then again, here is another one of those little buttons. And this is the last page, and I did a another kind of quilted pocket with a different lace and trim, and this is a vintage trim here, that gingham trim. And here is, it's backed on this wallpaper, and then here is the tag that I made for this journal, and this is the Tim Holtz cutout. I thought that looked like Grandma with her hat on for Sunday. It's got a tiny little pocket in front of it that has these little tickets in there, and it's got a little rusted safety pin on top with these different laces and trims on this vintage trim. And then there's Grandma. So that is it for that. I thought that looks kind of cute. And she gets tucked right in here in the back. And here is the other half of that pillowcase. So that is it, guys. That is the entire journal. And I had a blast making this, even though it took me absolutely forever. I mean, forever to get this done. Just because I was kind of not 100% sure what I wanted to put in here, but and which way I wanted to go with it. Anyway, the story behind the this I'll tell you in just a second. I do want to point out that I believe this is reserved, and the way that works is if you see it in my Etsy shop and it says reserved, do not purchase it because it's not yours. You're not going to get it. Okay. So what happens is if someone sees me making something and they ask me to reserve it, I let them do that, but they're not totally committed to it until after the flip through, and I may quit doing that because I think it's, I don't know, I'm not sure if that's going to work as a long-term solution to people all getting an opportunity to purchase my journals. So I may just start doing stuff on my Facebook group or something like that. So anyway, it is in my Etsy shop. It'll be reserved. I give them about a day to purchase it. If they don't purchase it, then I will put it in there just by the name, and I'm just going to put Mom's Journal on it, I guess. And that way, you know, if it just has that and it doesn't have reserve, then you can purchase it. But if it says reserve, do not purchase it. Okay. Anyway, the story about this cover is I was doing all this hand stitching. It was something that I thought I could do in the car. We were in the RV or whatever, going you know, throughout the country last year, and we were I don't remember where we were the night before, but we were somewhere, and I was trying to edit a video or something, and I am usually the navigator when we go places. I map it out before we go and all that, and I put the directions in my phone. I make sure, you know, we can get where we need to go and it's RV friendly and all that. Well, my husband volunteered to do all that the night before because I was editing a video, and so I let him do it, and I normally always do it, so no big deal. So we go, and I don't think I asked him a whole lot of questions about it or anything, but we were going to the Smoky Mountain National Park instead of the highway in our RV, which is switchbacks, roads, or whatever, which honestly I only saw one other RV there, and it was crazy. Crazy treacherous roads. Okay, that we should not have been on, that we should have been on like the highway. But I am sure my husband picked that route because I'm sure it showed shorter. It was a shorter route. That's how he always thinks. He doesn't think about all the other stuff. But anyway, so I really was having like a nervous breakdown, and he was trying to remain calm, but I will tell you, it was treacherous, okay? And I was sewing all of this, doing this, and that's probably the only thing that kept me from completely losing it, was the fact that I was doing this cover, and I didn't have to look off the side to see that we had about 8 inches from the back tire on the RV that was all we had. I mean, one wrong move and you're going down the mountain, and it was treacherous. So anyway, that's the story behind me making this cover. That, I mean, now in retrospect it seems kind of funny that he did that and I let him do it, but he doesn't get to do any navigation without me checking first. So anyway, that is the story behind that. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I appreciate all of you watching, and I hope you got some inspiration. As far as old quilts go, when you go into a thrift shop and they're ripped up or whatever, don't be afraid to purchase them, because like I said, there's a hole in the middle of this, and I just covered it up with different material, and I mean, there's always something you can do to make it work, and it doesn't take that big of a piece, so snag it if you can. Anyway, thank you guys. I appreciate you watching, and I will be uploading another video in the next couple days, so I don't know what day for sure, so the best thing to do is subscribe and hit the bell, because I don't know. I have internet problems, and I also have scheduling problems, so I don't know for sure when I'm going to do them. Alright, so I will see you soon. Take care.